Welcome to today's episode of Founder Led, where we sit down with some of the sharpest minds in the recruitment and staffing space. This episode is powered by LinkedIn Growth Engine, the proven system helping businesses grow their visibility, authority, and ultimately their business from LinkedIn. Join over 40 leading recruitment firm owners and businesses that are generating predictable leads, growing their visibility and authority from LinkedIn. So now let's get into the episode. Today we have a very special guest, Michelle Baxley, who's a partner at Boaz Partners. They are a retained executive search and recruitment firm that provides companies with custom talent solutions in the specialty chemicals, advanced materials, and animal health industries. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rohan. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's so great to have you on our show, especially given your experience in these industries. Would love if you can share the highlights of your career journey that led you to the role that you're in now.
It was a little bit of a zigzag, that's for sure. So I was in industry for 35 years. I worked in operations, in human health, specialty chemicals, the nuclear industry, the biotech industry, and the last 7 years running vaccine sites for an animal health company. And of all of the industries that I worked in, I loved animal health, just the passion of the people in this space to provide solutions that relate completely back to One Health, so all the way back to human health. And I wanted to make a change. I wanted to bet on myself, and I wanted to go build something of my own. And that's what I've done. So I came out of industry, grabbed an opportunity to start in the recruiting space. I was either going to consult, recruit, or I was going to teach. And recruiting seemed to me to be the place that I wanted to be able to help other professionals get actually into this industry or continue in this industry because of the cultural aspects of the industry. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years. Placing individual contributors through C-suite. In our practice, we work in animal health, nutrition, and have this weird little vertical in animal research, which is a lot of fun.
Beautiful. What are some of the challenges that you find, recruiting and placing talent in these industries?
I would say the placing the talent is the easiest part. The finding the talent is the most difficult part. We're not resume brokers. We're more like talent agents. A C-suite individual that I spoke with recently said, "Oh, you prospect for like gold." I said, "Yeah, that's pretty much what we do." And the biggest challenge, I think, in recruiting over the last 10 years is the shift in dynamics in Gen Z, Gen X, baby boomers leaving, the core, the millennials, and the expectations of people across those genres, especially since COVID. It has really changed the recruiting industry. And it's not transactional. It's really become more emotional, I would say, as we've gone through these last several years. So that is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I hear this across the board as well, speaking with other recruitment firm owners, where there's so much that, goes beyond the resume. And now with AI and a lot of these tools, resumes are looking increasingly similar. And there are a lot of these tools that screen resumes that are also driven by AI. And paradoxically, what's getting more and more important is the human element and the human touch. So maybe you can speak about, what can companies do, and also what can candidates do to really stand out in the hiring marketplace? Like, how can companies really showcase themselves as really great, empathetic, valuable places for someone to want to work at? And then also, how can candidates stand out?
Sure. On the client side, the most important thing is to show appreciation in today's time, from the start to the finish of an interview process, and attention to detail in things internally like benefits and not necessarily reward systems, but that appreciation piece for accomplishments and what people do. That's what make people stay in roles today. As we know, 2-3 years and most people are turning over. And what's generating that is the big A, the appreciation piece. So that's extremely important in all the way through interviewing and onboarding. On the candidate side, it's a candidate's market today. And what I mean by that is that in the last 2 years, there hasn't been as much hiring as there was in 21 and 22. And by candidates market, what I mean is candidates are really having to sell themselves. They're really having to change the game up with their documentation, with cover letters and what they're saying, their LinkedIn profiles, for one.
Yeah.
That is extremely important. It's much easier to know what you're dealing with if you source from LinkedIn. If someone fills out, I'm sure you're appreciating that I say this, but it's the truth. Somebody really fills out their profile, right? And their personality comes through their profile also. And maybe their wants, must-haves, and their likes and their dislikes even come through their profile. I think, and not many people use the tool for that. And it makes it a lot easier for folks like us that we're only using LinkedIn, Zoom, referrals, because we don't use job boards. We don't look at job boards to generate resumes. So that's pretty important. Right now, I'm helping 4 different candidates that have come to me either through personal connection or professional connection that are looking to be placed. And big thing for a candidate, even in connecting with a recruiter, is bring your A game. Be prepared and be ready to bring your A game. We do things like skill markets, where we find a really great candidate and then we're massaging our network, massaging our client base to see if they have a particular need for that talent so that we can be able to present someone for a role that they may have an opening for or need those skill sets for. So those 2 key things on the client and the candidate side, I would say.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. Oftentimes when businesses get started, posting content, say on LinkedIn, they think it's primarily to drive business in, leads and all that sort of stuff, grow their thought leadership, which is important to grow the business forward. But it's also such an important tool, and they can have different messaging to speak to candidates. And, one of our clients, for a lot of their job postings, they would go to these traditional job boards and they'd get flooded with like 150, 200 applications from mostly like strangers. People didn't really care to really research their business. They weren't even aware of like their unique approach and culture and all these sort of things. And then this company just like sort of shifted to sharing a bit more about the role they're looking for, a bit about the company culture in their LinkedIn content and their posts, and also commenting on other folks in the similar industry and field, other tech companies, and their comments kind of got a bit more reach as well. And that led to a smaller number of inbound, but these people are so much more qualified, relevant, bought in to the culture because they've been following their content for a while. And they move through the interview process in a much more like meaningful way. And yeah, she said, we got like 5 really great people that completed the entire process, and we'd love to hire at least 3 of them. So it was just such a much better hiring pipeline and workflow for them than any sort of job board. So I'm glad that you speak to that. And it's really funny where, yeah, like most people, their first impression is made online on LinkedIn. And when you take a look at, a profile photo and like some of the content they're sharing and like how up to date their profile looks, like so much opportunity for improvement. So I'm glad to hear that from you, someone who's like actively in like the recruitment and hiring space, and that it's relevant for across all industries, right? Not just these, B2C or like consumer-based industries, like animal health and chemical engineering and manufacturing as well. It seems to be very important.
It is. It really is. And the other thing that I would say is I tell clients and candidates, I tell, look, you've got to develop the my story. Here's my story. which you're speaking to, a company did online and LinkedIn, I tell my clients, the hiring directors, I need to know your story. I need to know how you're going to attract. What do I need to communicate to build your story so that it can attract candidates to your opportunity when we speak to them? So that's key critical. The story is critical, whether it's a documented story, it's a verbal story, it's a story about what the sizzle points are of the client or the sizzle points for the candidate. It's emphasizing the reason for the why. Why look at this? Why make a change, right?
Okay.
And
should the story, just to like double click on that, should the story also include why a particular company is the perfect fit, or is it more just the candidate story and why they're looking to make a shift?
So I can talk to candidates and I ask candidates, well, are there specific companies that you'd like to go work for? And when candidates tell me, no, I haven't really thought about that, I'm like, really? Okay. So how about let's start here. Tell me what your top 3 must-haves are. Career-wise, whether it's personal, career, whatever it is. What are your top 3 must-haves?
Yeah.
And secondarily, are you in your dream job today? And most people say no, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what would your dream job be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where would it be? What would you like it to feel like? Right? What would you like to accomplish? And usually from that, running down that rabbit hole, I get the real answers to what are the companies, the industries, what are the cultural fits you're looking for, what would make the most sense for you, right? But most people don't think about that. Target segments, companies, they don't take the time to go and do that research and make all of that happen, in their minds. They're too busy working.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's such an important, you're talking about a decision that's going to impact their lives for at least the next few years. And
right, exactly.
they're not putting in, a couple of hours or like maybe a day or two to really think about answering those questions for themselves. So I'm so glad you brought those up and gave us some tangible questions. Are there any other like unique talent challenges you find in like the animal health and research industries? I can imagine, again, on the candidate side, sometimes folks are in maybe research and they might be a bit hesitant to join an early stage private company. But yeah, what comes to mind in terms of what's like unique challenge to the industries that you work in?
So animal health and nutrition, I'll talk about those two. And specifically for us, we work less on the companion animal side than we do on the production animal side. There are significant challenges on the production animal side in nutrition, and it's talent. They're talent challenges. So in the 10-year to 20-year experience category, the halls are pretty empty.
Okay.
And it's because of what's happened in the ag industry over a period of years. But for that reason, there are more senior professionals that are staying in the industry longer. And the 10-year and below folks are getting gainfully employed, and there's starting to be more people coming out of ag type careers again, but it's still, there's a talent gap there. And coupled with that, these companies typically, and just overall in the US, we've stripped out a lot of layers. So it's difficult for companies today to onboard the younger set. So the animal science major in swine is struggling to get a job because many of these companies can't and don't have the resources to onboard them. So that's a struggle today in that industry. Some of the other things are new product introductions in the production animal world in nutrition are very, very slow. There haven't been any real big improvements in the last 15 years, I would say. A lot of companies are coming in from overseas and bringing new products into the U.S. for that reason. and it's picking up as well, with the kind of environment driving a lot of this, and the need for more and more protein, and the growth of the industry in people, the need for protein for people. So those are some of the things that we're seeing. On the animal research side, because of COVID, a lot of veterinarians went to practice instead of going into residency for lab animal medicine. One of the reasons I wanted to start that practice was because I wanted to be able to talk to people every day that are regular vets and say, why didn't you go to lab animal residency and become boarded and work in animal research?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them don't get exposed to that, really. A little bit maybe in their DVM educations, and I tell people I'd like to live to be 100, and if there's some kind of drug that could be produced to keep me continuing to live till I'm over 100, it's going to have to be done in the animal models
first.
So
Yeah.
we need DACLM boarded vets, right? So that's just been a real cool platform to be able to try and educate, and also recruit for contract research organizations and academic institutions in times where it's hard to find that talent.
Okay.
Because there are many residency programs that don't have all the seats full today.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like you're really going upstream here to the source of the constraint, which is folks are not even aware of like these research and residency opportunities that are available to them. And so like, how are you getting the word out? How are you encouraging folks to go that research route so that we can have a more steady flow and like supply of researchers on the other side of it to join these companies? Is there anything, are you going to like workshops or like actual schools? Like, what are you doing?
We are communicating, right, through everyday connections with people. We send tiles out. We talk about it every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be attending ALAS, which is for lab animal research manufacturers that sell into the industry, as well as lab animal vets. Residents go to this meeting. We are reaching out to the academic demographic and speaking to those that are resident advisors and that type of thing, to let people know that, there's a need here. And we're talking to clinic vets. Have you ever thought about working for a contract research organization? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or industry. You don't have to be boarded to work in industry in research.
Okay. So it sounds like there's a lot of education that people need to have to make decisions that they didn't know were available to them.
Right.
So it sounds
and for all of these reasons, that's a reason that organizations and institutions should use a firm like us, because we are that talent agent. We, out of the gate, build relationships. It is, again, like I mentioned, we're not a resume broker. We reach in, talk to people, find out their the timing of our call, where they are in their careers, what they want, where they want to go next, and just build those relationships, to be able to go back if something's not a fit of what we have today on our desk. We know that if this comes up, I'm going to go call, Dr. Jones, or I'm going to go call Dr. Smith, PhD nutritionist in swine, or so that we have close enough relationships to be able to do that, and help our clients too when they come to us more quickly.
Is there a story that comes to mind where perhaps a client was like stalling on getting a placement complete? The rec was open for several months or so. Or maybe they made a mishire or a misplacement and it really was painful to the organization. What's a story that comes to mind where you were brought in and based on your relationships and just like your pattern recognition of what makes a successful placement, to help you steer that ship around? Love if you can share a story.
There are a lot. Most recent, private equity invested in a contract manufacturing organization. They called me. we have a pretty good relationship because they have a couple of my clients are companies they invested in, and one of those companies is really excelling. The other company is not doing so hot, and they're about 3 years in, and they reached in and said, not sure that we want to make a C-suite change, but we're thinking about it. So how can you help us? Not a problem. So I went out and called 5 professionals that I know that I knew were ready at some point to take on a role like that. I called them, I blinded their information. In a week, I got all of that in front of the PE, and we're in the process of doing discovery interviews right now. That's how that network and those relationships are so valuable in that case. Another example, and we're always working on things that have been open for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we're the mystical purple squirrel hunters, and the people that work with us know that. So a large organization was looking for a vaccine development person for bovine, for ruminants, and they wanted the very new technology skill sets, right? And in the US, those new technology skill sets are in startups. But they were burgeoning at the time. This was probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So I reached out. I reached into overseas. I said, "Do you have any problem with a visa support?" No. The talent was not here in the U.S. I called all the major R&D leaders for ruminants that I knew, and they just didn't have the specific experience this organization was looking for. So I called a young lady in Europe, and she picked up the phone, and I said, reaching in to see if you might be interested in looking at an opportunity in the U.S. market. She was in the Netherlands. And she said, absolutely. I have been wanting to get USDA experience for several years now, and I haven't been able to make any headway to make that change. That is a Cinderella story. It took one phone call.
Wow.
She, her husband, and her 2 teenagers moved 2 months later. So, it's understanding the industry. It's knowing the people. It's knowing who to call. And it doesn't sit on job boards. You can't work that way anymore in the recruiting industry. At least I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. Wow. What a powerful story. Like, not only you're developing your relationships and your contacts in the US, but you are going international when you don't find the right set of talent because you're so clear on the requirements and qualifications that someone needs to have that now you have this like international search field. So yeah, what a story. As we start to wrap it up here, we have many companies like growing like leaders who are going to be tuning in. What is a message you want to leave to our audience as they think about growing their teams and like getting open recs out? Anything that we haven't covered right now that a message that you want to get out to our audience?
I would say this, going back to the beginning of our meeting, Rohan, the appreciation piece, right? The practice that and the process that we've developed in Boaz Partners is very people oriented. It is, I tell my team 100% of clients are people and 100% of candidates are people. People want to be understood, people want relationship, and people want that appreciation, and they want to be heard. And when working on things like this to use a better approach to reach people, it's important. It's important. I hear so many times from very frustrated candidates about using job boards and all of that. And it's not the way to go anymore. And I tell candidates, don't use job boards. It doesn't work. Because if the first 50 words of your resume don't pick up on the Boolean search terms that a talent acquisition person puts in their database in Workday or whatever system they're using, or LinkedIn, you're not going to be seen. So here's some of the methodologies you could use. But just to say that as organizations moving forward, where we are today with our generational differences today and the mindset of those generational differences, we've got to pay attention to that because it's not going away. It's going to get worse. So it has to be part of the grain of what we do. And AI is certainly helping. I do a candidate summary now in 5 seconds instead of 50 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great tool, but it's not ever going to take the psychology and the people out of the people. It's not going to be able to do that. So, and we have to be cognizant of that.
So with AI proliferating all businesses of all stages, what is changing in terms of this hiring pipeline and workflow, and what is not changing? Yeah, I would love you to speak to that.
What's not changing is the communications, the discussions, having to interface with the person, right? In real life, because you have to work with people. You're working with AI, but AI is not a person. What is changing is a ton in workflow. We just rolled out with our affiliated network something called, that's been trademarked SRAI, Sanford Rose and Associates I, SRAI. It's kind of cute. And at the push of a button, with a recording, with fireflies, with Meta, with documents, all of this is pulled in, and we get a complete portfolio of documents to give to our candidates, to give to our clients, and everything's branded, and it takes 15 seconds. And it's going to be an extremely powerful tool. And literally, this just came out this week in a beta, and it is so impressive because it's like having an assistant sitting at your side, but it's still not going to take out culture. It's not going to be able to define culture. It's not going to be able to define what drives a person, what a person's goals are, where they want to go. So yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah, I love that.
It's doing all kinds of things. Like I read the other day, a mouse's brain has been completely mapped by AI in regions where they never knew existed, right? Which is going to help research and help researchers. So yeah, it's great. But the bottom line is we're still people.
Right.
And we still have to have relationship. So
yeah, that's such a great point. Yeah, you keep coming back to appreciation, to empathy, to standing out around what makes you human, being intentional around what is the ideal, opportunity that you're looking for. How does it feel for you? And really describing that, because these are the things that cut through a lot of the AI generated information and content and all these sort of things. It's like the human element that shines through. So yeah, thanks so much for highlighting, what is not going to change, and also some of these really cool advancements and developments that are going to help with your workflow and like packaging these conversations and sharing it to the candidate and sharing it to the clients. And a lot of these like research developments, like the world is going to be a crazy place in just a few years.
It is. It already is crazier. Yeah.
Well, Michelle, this has been such a wide-ranging conversation. What's the best place for folks to find you if they want to learn more?
BoazPartners.com and go to our website. In addition, my LinkedIn profile.
Perfect. Yes.
Michelle Baxley, right? And that's how. And we'd like to hear from anyone that would like help looking for a new opportunity or is in a situation. I'm also working with several people that have been restructured recently. And that's been pretty prolific this year. So if you need help, we've got a lot of resources for you. We do interview preps. We have interview prep guides that we'll send you, and that's pro bono. That isn't anything that we charge for.
Perfect. And we'll include all those links in the show notes as well. So thank you again, Michelle, for joining the conversation today.
Thank you, Rohan. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Rohan.